Talks with Attorney Coral. I am Attorney Coral Pleas, the host of the show, and you are listening to WNOV 860 AM and 106.5, excuse me, on the FM dial. So thanks for listening. This show is sponsored by Columbia Savings and Loan Association. Thank you, Columbia, for sponsoring this show every week where we have been focusing on financial literacy because April is Financial Literacy Month. And to that end, I have in the studio with me this morning Mr. Gulbaz Gill, who is the Executive Director of Lending and Finance with Columbia Savings and Loan Association. Good morning, Gulbaz, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Coral, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you here. You were kind enough to stop in last week, but I think that we I did the first segment of the show solo, and then you came in after that. And I wanted to have you back again today because I felt like we got cut a little short last week because I think that you were sharing valuable information and people were calling and asking questions or making comments or sharing concerns. And that's what we're here for. This is all about learning and sharing our knowledge and our expertise. So, a lot of the audience members know you because you're no stranger to the Money Talk show. You've been with me a few times now.
Yes.
But for any out there who don't know who you are, give us a little quick background and summary of who you are and what your experience is, what you bring to the table in terms of your knowledge of financial literacy.
Uh, Coral, for myself, my name is Gulbaz. As you mentioned, I currently am with Columbia Savings and Loans. My position is to take care of existing portfolio, which we have, and also increase the portfolio going forward. I deal with consumer and commercial loans. And also help bank to grow in community and take myself out as Colombia and help people to grow as well. Not from the bank prospect, but from individual prospects also, like people who come in and become our member, become our customer. I don't like to call my clients customer. I like to call them member because they are part of our bank and they're part of our family. So this is what I do, and that's my background. Is I've been working in lending since 2004. Start working with a few other banks, and the last bank I work is a $5 billion bank, which I still around, and decided to join Columbia because it kind of jives with my personal mission, with my personal love for the community, and I think there's a great opportunity for me to again give back to the community which I gain from them. So,
And some of this is review from last week, but talk a little bit about the significance of community banking versus the larger institutions.
yeah, community banking is person to person. We don't have such a thing like AI computer where we just put your information in and the results spit out. We meet with you, we shake hand with you, we look into your eyes, we interview you and give you chance to interview us as well. So that's part one of it, and then we reinvest. One investment is like, you invest anywhere, but we reinvest in community, in local community specifically, where we create possibilities to start businesses, to create jobs related to the businesses, and with that, the when the growth happens, then we go to the consumer loans as well, and that is how community bank work. Again, I'm not gonna go in what bigger banks do, but this is what exactly what us type banks do, Colombia and some other community banks which are very known in our local communities.
Well, one thing that, I observe in terms of how you operate at the bank, you seem to be on a mission to meet as many customers as you can because you schedule back-to-back appointments, and every time I look up, here's someone coming in your office to, one of our members, as you said, but they're coming because you want to meet them face to face.
That is the goal. That is the goal. And in my last show, I brought this thing up, and this is part of the financial literacy. That please, whenever you get chance, go to your banker. We don't have to set up appointments. You set up appointment with your banker. Talk to them. Opportunities. As in my last show, I mentioned financial winters, and it's like individual financial winters also. Like we everybody have hard times, then you need a banker. Come in, talk to us, explain us your situation, and if you're doing great, then come in, talk to us, and we will figure out how to grow your current wealth. Uh, Remember one thing: um, money sitting with you cannot grow; will just earn interest. Money invested in any business or any other investment will always grow. Because we all know right now, Coral, if you give me a few more minutes, right now we all are going through some tough challenges, and the media and all that stuff we hear everywhere that we had great a couple decades, maybe more than couple decades, where we have all gotten very successes in our investment. But as history taught us that since last 100 years, we had about 6 to 7 recessions already. I don't want to use that word, but this R word is needed. This recession word always fix the current economy. It reset the things. That's basically what it is. So in that case, if you have funds, talk to your banker. If you are struggling, talk to your banker. And Coral, that is one of the reason I set up all those appointments where I can interview, I can create a community network as a traditional lender, where you can come in and we discuss your financial needs or hard times, sitting in my chair looking into each other's eyes, and both will share this thing together, that Gulbaz, I'm having challenges. Gulbaz, I'm not having challenges, but I want to invest my money. So that is one of the reason, Coral, you see me busy, and that's what my goal is. That is another reason I want to give back. We have one thing, it's a community reinvestment act, but that's for the act thing, but I take it personally also, that I want to reinvest in community, from the bank point of view, of course, funds, personal point of view, my knowledge. Long time ago, my mom taught me this thing, that any experience we have become our knowledge. That is the definition of knowledge. And if I've gone through and learned that knowledge through an experience which took me 20 years to gain it, and if somebody comes in, like we have a young gentleman at the bank, his name is Miles, and we were talking about it, and somebody mentor me, and now I think I can move forward and mentor him. That is my reinvestment. So when I share my 20-year of experience, which become my knowledge now, with somebody young, and he can gain that in 5 years or maybe 2 years, depending on how fast he gets it, he will be 18 year ahead of anybody he can. And that is exactly my personal reinvestment is. From a bank point of view, see I react. So
Yeah. And and I like that that's how you operate, Golbaz, quite honestly, because you'll hear me say, you probably have heard me say, with respect to our members or our customer base, my experience of the members of Columbia is that we are very relational. The people that come in the bank like to recognize the people that they see there. And I've been there every day for just about a year now, and people like that. I'm starting to learn a lot of the customers' names, or I have learned a lot of their names. And if I come through the lobby, I make eye contact, I greet, I say hello, and people want that personal, that relational experience with working with Columbia. So I like that that's your philosophy too, in terms of how you operate. I think that that is something that our customer base looks forward to, and that's been my observation when I see you with the customers.
absolutely right. That is what our mission is. That is Colombia is previously mission was, and that's what we're gonna give it to our downline, which is our next generation.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, so we've been talking about financial literacy here for the month of April, and we were providing information that I'll call, like educational. We talked about equity, we talked about definitions and what that means. Last week, we even talked. We even incorporated a little bit about estate planning and how it can relate to financial literacy, just educating yourself about different estate planning tools that might help with respect to the home that you own, whether there's a mortgage on it or if there's not a mortgage on it, that it can be important to do the proper estate planning protections for yourself to make things easier on your heirs if
Makes
something
sense.
were to happen. Because I think one of the things we were talking about last week is that it's not necessarily automatic for a person to be able to assume another individual's mortgage, that it's not an automatic thing, that
Yeah,
sometimes there's some steps,
process.
yeah, a process. Sometimes it's a probate process, but depending upon if how you have done or if you have done a proper estate plan, you might be able to avoid the probate process and expedite the transition of things. After you're gone. So those were important things that we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks. Did you want to say anything more about those things? I know we have another topic that we're going to move on to
No,
today, but I didn't know if you.
you said it
Um,
very well, Coral. And again, just one thing, I think the summary of what you just said is, um, please think ahead. If you have asset, put it in a state, as I earlier mentioned, talk to your banker. Maybe banker can lead you and introduce you to an attorney and guide you to the right path. So please go and discuss these things with your attorney and get advices from them, because once we all know that we all have to go. One day we all gonna be leaving this lovely earth which we love, and then we don't want our heirs to have problems going forward. So do that process now, and that's one thing which I'm gonna just add. Yeah,
yeah,
but you
no.
said it very well. Yeah,
Okay, I was going to say of you, well said. So, if people do have questions or want to talk about those topics or any new topics related to financial literacy, the number here is 414-444-5250. That is 414-444-5250 or 5253. And Jermaine's going to nod that I finally got that telephone number right, even though I messed up the FM dial earlier and I'm looking right at it. But we're just going to have to excuse me. We're going to have to excuse me for that. So, all right. So, go by. So, today, we wanted to again talk about in the continuing discussion on financial literacy, but to talk more about business um, as relates. So, that's very broad, but I want to make it broad and then you can hone in on specifically what you wanted to share um, about how to start a business or why to start a business or what type of business. Just talk about those topics a little bit in terms of what you'd like to share today.
sure.
Let's tee it up. We have a few minutes.
Sure. Great thing you brought up, business. Uh, in our financial literacy month, I think there are few things which are very crucial to understand, because we all think like we want to buy things which gonna make some equity, and down the line we're gonna sell it, and hopefully we will get that asset and paid off property and have some money. Coral, a business can be anything which generates income. You can buy a house, and I mentioned my previously, and I'm going to repeat that, and please make it your mantra going forward. Houses, personal residences are great, but they do not make income. They are still an expense unless you paid it off or you buy it in cash. So, how to generate income which will feed our family, take care of our needs? That is something which we have to work on. Instead of buying or continuously buying depreciate, well, house is not a depreciating asset, but assets which are not generating income is also a burden on you. So let's just talk about how to increase our income. There are two ways. One is that you work for somebody and get your W-2, and that's great. We need workforce, and we need those type of organizations which create those jobs. And the other way is, why don't we become that organization which create those jobs? So that's what the business is. Business, one thing is like, okay, I will sell one thing for $1 and I will make 20 cents on it. The other thing is how to do it continuously instead of just doing it once. That's what business is. It's bartering system. It started many years ago. So today, we really want to talk about how, and again, the goal is, the mission is for Colombia especially, that we want to be mentors of our community, which teaches how to fetch the fish instead of just here's the fish. So that is another thing which I want to bring up now. I'm saying all that stuff, and I'll come to the topic like how to open business. But first thing, we really want to focus on it. Are we ready for it? Do we have that entrepreneurial mindset, which means this will be another baby which you will be inheriting? Because once you start something, it's going to require time, it's going to require your energy, it's going to be taking away your weekends. So that's one thing we have to figure out if you want to start a business. Now, I'm not trying to scare Coral, but these things we have to keep in mind. um, we can buy income generating properties, and I'll give you an example. You buy a real estate, we'll start from here and then we'll go to the retails and all that stuff. We buy a residential property and we feel okay, we're gonna buy that for 200,000. Then down the line, after I'm gonna stay there for 10 years, I'm gonna sell it for 250,000. I'm gonna make 50,000, and then I'm gonna get that amount which is my loan, which was paid down. I'm making 70,000. But that is hoping to get that money. We don't know anything what's going to happen tomorrow or when we want to sell it. If the market is high, yes, you will definitely get the profit. But as I earlier mentioned, financial winter is coming in. So we have to make sure that when the financial winter comes in, we keep that thing in mind, that we might not get that 70,000. We might get only 50,000. We might get only 30,000, and we have to sell that property on cost or maybe low. We have seen that in 2007 and 4. Now, when I talk about business, now let's go to income generating real estate. Now, if you buy a rental property, which is a duplex, it could be a duplex, and you can live on one side and you can rent the other side. Or if you're renting a place which is just costing you $1,000, but you buy this place and both that duplex, one side is giving you $1,500, other side is giving you $1,500. Now you're making 3,000. Even out of that 3,000, you are getting the $1,000 to rent it somewhere else. You're still making $2,000. And even if you factor the vacancy factor out, the property taxes, the escrows, the water bills out, you will still take home $1,000. That is one way to look at business. And I believe we're going to talk on our next segment when we come back, that how to start an actual day-to-day business which we see, which where there is return of at least 20% and profitability of 20% in those businesses. But this is something, my friends, we should think about, that sometimes it's not important to live in that house, or sometimes it's very important to buy income generating real estate. And if you already own a house, then look for residential properties which will generate income for you. This will also create equity. We talked about it last week, which will also create the income as well. So we'll come back and we'll talk more, Coral.
Okay, we'll be right back with more Money Talks with Mr. Gulbaz Gill after the break.
affordable Easter bash is gonna be a bash you don't wanna miss. At Abundant Face, located at 7830 West Good Hope Road. The Captain Spirituals. Come on now, Spencer Taylor and the Highway QCs. The fabulous Lucky Brothers, Pastor Tim Rogers and the Phillips is gonna be in the house. Bishop Neil Robeson, Reverend R.L. Bush and the Revived Church. Willie Rogers, Tiffany Terry, Willie Banks Jr. and the Messengers. Curtis Eubanks. Now get your tickets at the New Kids Mortuary. Call 414-447-6000.
And I am here in the studio this morning with Mr. Gulbaz Gill, who works with Columbia Savings and Loan Association, as do I. Gulbaz is the executive director of lending and finance, and we are together today because we're talking about financial literacy. So, Gulbaz, before we went to break, you were talking about the importance or the significance of owning a business and generating income, and you were giving a homeowner type business as an example. You mentioned a rental property and so forth. But I wanted you to slow that down a little bit and to just explain that to the audience again, because I think this is a business that a lot of different people are engaged in. So they're going to want to hear what you have to say about that. So please, if you could just slow it down and go through that a little bit, just one more time.
Sure, sure. So basically, we were talking about investment properties. What investment properties are? Where we invest on a property which generates income and also build equity. So, as I mentioned earlier, if we have another job or another business, these properties kind of create equity over the time, and also create rental income for us to after paying all the mortgage and expense. So there are two tiers of income which we see, and I've seen, like at Columbia, we have a lot of customers who actually have investment properties. Now, a question is how to buy them, how to become an investor, businessman in real estate. So there are several ways, Coral, that how we can enter in. One is that we save some money, get at least 20% down in cash, and then look for a property which have multiple units. You can get a single family also, you can get a condo as well. If it's me myself, I would always go for multi-unit property, 2 unit duplexes. It could be tri-unit, or it could be a four family also, again depending on how much money you have to put down in cash. I would always like to go for 20% down, Now this is me as a banker, and this is me as a personal also, because I want to get into a business where especially into an investment where there is equity already in it, plus your mortgage payment going to be lower as well. Then once I have 20% down, I have property in mind. I would like to talk to a banker. And then that banker will do their due diligence. And the reason I will directly go to the banker after this is because I, as an investor, sometimes get really excited. Um, Carl, I'm gonna just back up and I'm gonna just add this also. I'm using I am basically considering myself as investor an example.
Right.
So
Right.
that is how I'm gonna start explaining it, so that I can use those layman languages and exactly like if I'm a new investor.
No, that makes sense, Gulbaz,
Yeah,
and I'm glad that you explained that. I was going to
yeah.
ask you to make that clear, but go ahead.
So I, as an investor, then go to a bank and say, "Hey, I have 20% down. I need to buy this specific property. What do you think about it?" And this is very important that you give chance to your banker to look into it. Few things. Number one, banker is your 80% investor in this investment. You have only 20% equity. Banker has 80% investor. So they will always like to secure themselves. And by securing themselves, they're also securing you. In my field, we always say there's an investor excitement, businessman excitement period, which means when you see something, even you probably notice it when we buy a house, we love it and we don't even think about anything else. But banker kind of calms you down. They do their due diligence, underwriting process, check the income, project the income, see the vacancy factor historically, get the information from the previous owner who's a seller now, and you're the buyer or borrower with the bank. These terms I'm gonna say, and please call us if you have any question on those terms, because that's very important. That is financial literacy when we have that lingo knowledge of banking. So I, as a buyer, and to the bank, I'm a borrower, give all the information to the bank. And the bank do their due diligence. And it's very important for us, I, to know it, what my banker is doing. What we see is we see the historical rent. We see the historical vacancy factor. What vacancy factor is, Coral? That is every year, if there is a turnaround because people come and go when they rent it, that period, that 1 month period, that property is not generating income. So normally we put 5 to 10% vacancy factor in it. That means if your income is such, we subtract that income with this. This is very important for an investor to do that as well, because this is conservative investment. You never want to go in excitement. You never want to go and, oh, I'm going to make money tomorrow in any business, especially keeping in mind this is an investment which will pay us back in 20 years. So we want to make sure in 20 year we will not have that type of excitement. So we want to think way ahead of time and see what kind of problems I'm going to face, what kind of challenges I'm going to face. And these things you will know it when you go out and talk to your banker, person who's your investing partner. I call us as a banker now investing partner with you. And again, I'm repeating this thing. Remember, if banker says something, don't take it wrong, take it positively, because their investment is 80%. They want to secure their investment. Some banks 75%. Now, there is one thing which I'm going to bring up. Equity sh- don't have to be in cash. If you see our radio interview last week, and I highly recommend to go back to YouTube and Facebook and see that we discuss about equity, we can use that equity also as cash down. We can give that built up equity over the year and talk to the banker and say, hey, we don't have 20%, but we have these two collaterals. I have one collateral which is paid off or have sufficient equity in it. Can you use that portion and give me 100% financing? Just a small thing which I'm putting on table. But in that case, your DSC, debt service coverage, which is your in your debt, all your expenses against the income you generate should have sufficient return for you personally, as an investor, to justify bank's investment. Again, please, if you have any questions, stop us, call us, and just ask us right away. Like, Gulbaz, what you mean by this? Even you can leave a message on Facebook and ask us that question again, and I'll be very happy to share that knowledge with you on the Facebook comment section.
Okay, so let me jump in then with a question. Um, So I thought that one of the reasons that the banker may say, okay, we would like for you to put 20% down is so the customer has a little skin in the game so they can, feel it and want to make sure that would seem to me to bring down some of that excitement, right? That can start off in the beginning. And so bring that into check a little bit. So if you do a deal where maybe there's other properties, if I understood you correctly,
Yes.
that you may be able to use equity from some other property. Is that the same thing, or are you letting them off the hook with the 20% down, or how does it work?
Sure. Financial literacy again.
Hmm.
5 C's of banking.
Yes, let's go over those
Yes.
again.
Character, your payment history, your living pattern, like how you're spending and gaining, your collateral and cash capacity. So your if you don't have cash, and I always says, when you are thinking to go into business, you don't have to be perfect. Nobody is perfect. And if you're perfect, then we should go to you as a banker. You shouldn't come to us. The point I'm trying to make, Coral, over here is, um, collateral. If there's sufficient collateral, like if you have two properties and you have paid m- money toward that property to pay it down, that is also cash for us, but we cannot give you 100% of it. That equity, depending on how much you have, we can only give you 70% of that available equity. If there's a first mortgage, we subtract that. Also, there's a formula. Go to your banker, talk to them about it. They will let you know. But this helps you because, keeping in mind, if I have $2,000 and I put that $2,000 in bank for next 20 year, or I put that $2,000 toward the property to reduce that debt for next 20 year, it's very similar, not exact, but very similar thing, because now you have built equity in that house over the course of time. You don't want to sell that property, you want to keep that property and retain that equity. That is why last show we discussed equity is very important, because you can use that equity for multiple purposes.
Right. So
Buying
hold
houses.
that thought for a moment, Gobaz, because we have a couple people waiting that
Oh,
would like to
sure.
talk. So, callers, thank you for holding. Please go ahead with your question. Thank you for holding.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I sit here and I listen to you guys every day. And I've been a woman for 73 years and I'm gonna die one. What I don't appreciate is how, and I don't understand how you guys can sit there and speak of a woman's private and most personal thing in her life. How can you do it so easily, so comfortably? And I'm just letting you know, I just don't appreciate it. As a woman, I don't. And I don't like to hear it on the radio. It's discussed, this by men.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So, um, we have another caller that's holding. Caller, please go ahead.
Hi there, you there?
Yes, we are here. Thank you.
I've been listening to the various criteria and the various guidelines for community, should I say, Columbia Savings. I reached out to you guys, about 3 or 4 months ago. I was building, and I still am building my driving school for young people and adults just as well. I was totally mystified. First of all, let me ask you this. Have the ownership changed hands recently?
Um, the members of Columbia actually are the owners of Columbia. Um,
No, no, no. In terms of the president, the CEO, or the vice presidents,
the
those folks.
president and the CEO of Columbia has been in position about 3 years now, going on 3 years.
Okay, that tells the whole story. Why? Because when I called, and that's not such a good thing right now, because they have not incorporated some of the past doings of what Columbia Savings has been doing. What I'm hearing, first of all, is it sounds very stringent in terms of 20%. But let me just go where I want to go. Okay, so when I called and talked to one of the individual, very nice guy, decent customer service skills, you guys do not even have in place. You might have it now, but this is 2 months ago. You didn't have in place check a business checking. You was not on board with me providing. I needed you guys for business checking, savings, and all the above. The gentleman I talked to told me they'll reach back out to me, which they never did. So I'm concerned about our community with this new changeover. I don't, in my opinion, it's not factual. In my opinion, I don't think that you guys, from a geographic standpoint, have really took a good look at what's going on here. I don't know how productive you are in terms of selling homes or giving loans to individuals, but I know that you guys didn't even have business checking in place. I couldn't even give you my LLC information, none of that, because there was no pro. You guys had nowhere to go with it, so I had to go elsewhere. So, can you just kind of elaborate on my thought here? And I know that you're talking about home ownership, and then I didn't even hear you mention about credit score. Can you give me an idea of what Columbia Savings is looking for in terms of credit score? And with that thought, that's all I got now. Listen.
Okay, thank you so much for your call. Gulbas, do you want to
Yeah,
speak
of course.
to those
What's your name,
things?
sir?
Well, I don't want
Oh,
to. I don't want him
okay.
to mention his
Okay,
name,
no problem. No
and
problem.
we ended the call, so he's going to
Okay,
listen
no
to
problem.
what the
No problem.
response is. So,
Many things what you said, they might be true. Yes, our full name is Columbia Savings and Loans. So normally we have saving accounts and we do loans, sir. We have commercial loans. We do have consumer loans. We do home loans as well. Uh, I would actually consider what you just brought up in regards to the business checking accounts. We are currently working on it. It is in our pipeline. You're absolutely right. We have to go with what is required. But historically, the bank was created just for the commercial, consumer, and saving accounts. So that is one of the historical things, and that's you can see that in our name as well. That is Columbia Savings and Loans. But again, on your point, all the recommendations you mentioned, thank you for your call. We really appreciate it. And we will definitely consider them and make ourselves better. We do have very new technology integrated in our organization now, starting 2025. We have acquired knowledgeable, educated, known in community lender who is serving right now the community. And coming to this radio show is part of it as well, that we will discuss this and explain exactly what Colombia needs and what Colombia can do for our local community. The other question you ask in regards to the credit score, I can say I want 800 credit score. And a lot of eyes gonna come on me. Gulbaz, what are you doing? I mean, like 80% of folks don't have 800 credit score. So in lending, we go I hope you were just listening a few minutes ago, which I was mentioning, that every deal is different. Every criteria is different. Coral few minutes ago brought up, Kulbaz, wait, you just brought up this equity thing that bring cash, but then you're mentioning that you can bring build up equity, real estate equity as well. Scenario, every deal is different. And my response to her was that 5 C's of credit, and I did not brought up credit score. Everybody, folks, I did not brought up credit score. I brought up the pattern of living. If you're making your payments, great. I can see that Colombia can see that historically last 12 months customers making payment on time, and that's pattern of living, that he will not he have a good set of uh, uh, um, um, what you call like living pattern, which shows like they are responsible for becoming bank's partner, and get this business, get this house, get this investment from us. So I'm gonna say credit score, sure, it has to be good enough, but I personally, as executive director of lending, I see most of the time living the pattern of payments. So if your pattern of payment is great, that's why we pull the credit. We're gonna go and move forward with that. Now again, case by case. Sometime in consumer lending, when you buy a house, we have to make sure, like, if we are giving you a 30-year mortgage, then we have to fill up those criteria. The credit score should not be 300 or 400. It should have enough in it where we can justify our depositors. Now we are talking about how the banking works. So here, let's just talk about that too. People who invest money in us, people who have in CDs, saving accounts with us, when you come in and give us your money, it's our fiduciary duty to invest that money wisely. This is our business now. We will talk about it. So when we give that money away, as an investment, as a business opportunity, or as personally buying a house for somebody, it's our job to secure our depositors' fund. So that's why we do all those due diligence. You said 20% down. Yes, going forward, we might go for 20% down for sure, and maybe 25, because we are responsible for our depositors, so that their investments are secure. Because if we're going to get a lot of deals back which are not producing, which are not doing good, we are how we gonna see our members, as Coral earlier mentioned, we don't have ownership. Our investors are members. Whoever open account in Colombia become my boss, right? So I am responsible to give them the results of our investment as well. So I'm sorry, maybe I said too long,
No,
but
no,
I
I
hope
think
I
you're just
explained
fine.
it. Keep in mind, banks, we are responsible for our depository side as well. And we need to be smart enough to lend exactly like you are doing business. When you do business, you want to make sure that your investment is returned. Your investment which you pour in that, I believe you said driving school, if you buy that car and if you buy and get those licenses and get that insurance, that is your expense. You want to make sure that you have insurances all the time. You want to make sure that the student who come in and grab that steering wheel, you should have the brakes on the other side as well of the car, so just in case if they do something, you can hit the brake. Same thing we bankers do. We are always making sure that when we lend wisely for our depositors. So I
Yeah.
hope I explain it, but I would really like to meet you. If you can please come to the bank and shake hand with me, spend 5 minutes with me, I would really appreciate to meet you.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. So it looks like we have to take a break, and we will be right back after the break with more money talks from Attorney Coral with Mr. Golbaz Gill. Thank you. Back. This is Money Talks with Attorney Coral. I'm Attorney Coral Pleas, and I've got Mr. Gulbas Gill in the studio this morning. Looks like we've got a caller holding already. Caller, thank you so much for holding. Go ahead, please.
Yes. Good morning, Attorney Press.
Good
How
morning,
you how you doing? And excuse me, your co-host. I forgot his name
Mr.
already.
Gill.
Mr. Joe. Good afternoon or morning to you, sir.
Good afternoon. Good morning to actually. Good morning to you as well, sir.
Thank you for being there.
It's my pleasure.
Okay. And of course, I have to give a shout out to Mr. Devo and Mr. Jermaine. Right out.
Jay Tizzle, respectfully, how you doing, my man?
Respect. Respectfully doing okay. Attorney, excuse me. I wanted to ask a question. I appreciate the financial advice that you've given everybody about everything that was going on, and thank you so much for doing that for Columbus Savings and Loans. I want to thank everybody for being there in the studio. You both, especially, for doing that. But my question is, what about the tariffs? Because everything you just said, how would the tariffs, you know, affect uh, when you try to qualify people for home loans or things like that, or anything that has anything to do with financial? How would that tariff up and down that Donald Trump is doing with the tariffs and stuff like that? How would that affect what you're trying to do with the community and stuff like that? And I will hush, sit back and listen. But that's my question. How would the tariffs affect what you're trying to do for the community? And thank you for accepting my call.
Okay, no, and thank you so much for calling. So the first thing I just wanted to say, just for sake of clarity, we're not giving advice. We're giving information. We're sharing information here today. So, because we are professionals held to certain standards, we have to be careful about using a scenario where we're actually giving advice to people. We are having an educational conversation, and we encourage people to call and share their information as well. Now, with that being said, Gulbaz, do you want to take a minute or so to address that question? We
Sure.
don't have a lot of time, and there's something that I would like to say before we close.
Sure. So tariffs basically, how I'm not gonna say political side. I'm gonna say how it's gonna impact us. Of course, things gonna go up. Prices are gonna go up. We will be paying taxes. The imports which we're gonna receive is gonna be imposed to us. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Personally, from my side, if these kind of tough times, and I'm already seeing that financial winters are coming in, maybe this is a little factor which will bring that close to us, is resetting the market. When we have these type of things come to our side, last time we had COVID, if you go back, but before that in 2007, seven, I mean 6 7, we have war. So all those factors gonna come in, but we as United States, and I strongly believe in, any of my friends, when they ask me for financial advice, I tell them that whenever you want to invest, invest number one in that company. Second thing you have to invest is in United States. If you believe that your country gonna stay for long, invest. Don't worry about financial winters because we're gonna come out of it. Um, Again, I don't want to go in the political thing like at the good or bad. One thing I promise you this is, and I'm using the word promise very carefully, that this will be long term. When we're gonna have hardships, we always come out of it. So that's the best thing I can say. Again, we can sit and chat, sir, when you come to the bank. And again, I would like to shake hand with you and meet you in person. We'll talk about it, but online, I really want to stay to the banking side. The interest rate, if that's gonna impact, tariffs gonna impact the interest rate. So if you are doing investment, be very careful. The prices are going up. For example, we're talking about the housing. The house is built in especially in our area, Wisconsin side, is based off timber, is based off plastic, it's based off things which we, I would say 80 aluminum, and the 80% of it is imported. Not we don't export those things, we import those things to build it. So I will just leave it over here, leave the decision on you. Is it good time to invest, or is it good time not to invest? Wait or just buy. You do your due diligence, but prices are gonna go up.
Okay, thank you for that, Gobas. And so what I wanted to say, we always encourage the phone calls every week. That's why I give out the number. We encourage feedback, whether it be constructive criticism, or maybe there'd be a positive commentary as well. Um, I would like to, the thing that I've noticed is whenever I do the shows where we focus specifically on financial literacy, that's where we get the most calls where people are having an issue with, and but we're doing what we're doing is we're trying to educate people. That's all that we're doing. And we're doing that based on our experience, either me with hundreds of people through my law practice, what do we see, what are the challenges, or if it has relates to the bank and the hundreds of people that we see there, and if we see similarities and where there are things that we maybe can bring up to be helpful. So what I'm going to do next week, okay, is I'm going to have on the show the president and CEO of Columbia Savings and Loan Association, Mr. Ernest Jones. And he will be here to address the issues, the questions that were brought up today, or any issues and questions that people want to bring up next week to talk about Columbia and what products we're able to offer. My 2 cents, come and support the bank before you're so quick to criticize. All right, so we've got to call it a day. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll be back next week with more Money Talks with Attorney Coral. Thanks, Gobas, for being on the show today.
You're welcome.